Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Prince William in tears as Princess Anne. Conveys King's profound final wish for monarchy's future within the esteemed and silent walls of Windsor Castle, a secret assembly of the highest-ranking members of the royal family, assembled under an atmosphere of unparalleled seriousness. The gathering, convened as King Charles III persists in his courageous but challenging struggle against illness, was not intended for public ceremony or official affairs, but for a period of deep and sad, familial reflection. According to people with detailed knowledge of the events, a crucial and emotionally significant chapter in the history of the House of Windsor was written here. Upon Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, standing the room's melancholy mood, allegedly intensified to an almost palpable degree. The subdued light streaming through the archaic leaded windows of the castle's secret chambers revealed features marked by a blend of trepidation and grief. This was an extraordinary family council. The summit was necessitated by the king's deteriorating health, compelling the family to address unforeseen issues about the future of the crown. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, and successor to the throne, remained tense, his fists tightly clasped, as the gravity of the occasion bore heavily upon him. Despite a lifetime of preparation for his forthcoming position as sovereign, reports indicate that nothing could have prepared him for the emotional intensity of this encounter. All individuals present comprehended that the message entrusted to Princess Anne may profoundly alter the trajectory of the British monarchy. The Princess Royal, often seen as the family's steadfast and resolute anchor, revealed an uncommon insight into the emotional burden of the occasion. Following a brief, hardly detectable hesitation, a period that seemed interminable for the onlookers, she started her speech. Her voice, although firm, conveyed a distinct quiver of passion that emphasized the gravity of her remarks. Princess Anne said without ceremony or exaggeration that King Charles had entrusted her, his sister and long-standing confidant, with a very personal request. She articulated that it was a final wish, originating not from official governmental procedures, but from discreet personal discussions conducted away from the unyielding scrutiny of the media and mostly outside the awareness of the family. The king, his strength waning due to continued treatment, was unable to express his request with the vigor and clarity that formerly characterized him. An evident wave of discomfort swept through the gathered royals. This issue extended beyond the line of succession, a topic well established by legal and traditional precedents. This was a matter of greater significance, a mandate that would penetrate the essence of contemporary royalty in the 21st century. During Anne's discourse, it became evident that the king's foremost concern was not his own legacy, but rather the preservation of the institution to which he has dedicated his whole life. He articulated a deep need for the monarchy to persist, not by the imposition of archaic traditions or elaborate rituals, but via what he considered much more powerful and fundamental genuine empathic leadership. Subsequently, the information emerged allegedly leaving the room in profound quiet. The king, in his contemplative musings, discerned the genuine source of hope for the monarchy's future. He believed it was not exclusively rooted in the ancient bloodlines or the established hierarchy. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, a lady who entered their realm without a title or privilege, had a fortitude of spirit and a subtle elegance that no crown could provide. As Princess Anne meticulously revealed the king's intimate emotions, Prince William was profoundly affected by emotion. Sources depict the Prince of Wales as grappling with his sorrow, his eyes ablaze with tears he could no longer restrain. A deep realization enveloped him that all the years of diligent preparation, the overwhelming public scrutiny, the significant personal sacrifices had culminated in this delicate, awe-inspiring moment. The king's desire, as communicated by his sister, was not only a statement of love for his daughter-in-law, it was a calculated and sincere command. Catherine was not only to be a queen consort in anticipation, she was to be acknowledged and supported as the monarchy's most crucial asset for its enduring existence. The king's speech suggested that William must support her not just as a spouse, but also as a future ruler prepared to transform the institution's basic foundation with her. The room was immobilized, ensnared by the profound weight of the occasion. However, concealed inside the king's desire was an additional, more profoundly buried secret, a message not just from Charles, but one that resonated with the wisdom of a queen whose influence remains palpable within the walls of Windsor. A queen's concealed aspiration, Elizabeth II's personal vision for Catherine. As the first astonishment of the king's desire permeated the room, Princess Anne's subsequent remarks bore a distinct gravity, more profound, more personal, and in several respects, even more tragically resonant. She referenced not just King Charles's order, but also a profound secret, a confidence concealed inside the last discussions he had with their deceased mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The late queen, a monarch renowned for the steadfast self-discipline and unwavering sense of duty that characterized her historic 70-year reign, sometimes let her maternal defenses diminish in her most private moments. She disclosed to her two oldest offspring a peek of her genuine aspirations and apprehensions for the crown's destiny. Anne explained that their aspirations were not just based on history or lineage. They relied on something vastly more delicate and significantly more valuable character. Anne described a talk with her mother at Balmoral during the latter weeks of her life, maintaining a controlled voice despite the emotional toll. Queen Elizabeth, with the rare insight acquired during 7 decades of reign, expressed her increasing apprehensions over the monarchy's capacity to endure the impending challenges she saw. She saw the decline of respect, the emergence of public disenchantment, and the unyielding, often harsh characteristics of a contemporary media apparatus capable of dismantling reputations with alarming rapidity. She understood with a conviction derived from experience that the future would not favor monarchy only because of its lineage. It would need something further. She saw that the something more radiated most vividly, not in the experienced family members, but in the lady who had entered their realm, devoid of the protection of royal lineage. The narrative indicates that Queen Elizabeth refrained from expressing these sentiments publicly, apprehensive that they may be misinterpreted or provoke discord among the family's more conventional members. Instead, she chose to confide in Anne, the one royal who, like her, understood the isolating weight of obligation more profoundly than the ephemeral comfort of acclaim. She entrusted Anne with this information to be kept confidential, to be disclosed alone at the appropriate time. The time has finally come. Anne's discourse revealed not only a revelation, but also the transference of a torch signifying the realization of both maternal and royal responsibilities. Queen Elizabeth II saw in Catherine not just the grace and affability that captivated the audience, but also a steadfast resilience. She discerned a subtle, unwavering fortitude that she felt might restore a broken institution if the worst were to occur. For Prince William, hearing his aunt narrate his grandmother's remarks was a moment of poignant clarity. His grandmother's voice, vividly etched in his memory, seemed to resonate throughout Anne's narration. He recognized, maybe for the first time, the whole magnitude of the trust his grandma had bestowed onto his wife. Catherine had transcended the role of mere spouse amidst the perpetual cycle of ritual and show. She had been selected, acknowledged, and entrusted at the farthest echelon. She represented the late Queen's clandestine aspiration for a novel monarchy, one grounded not on big proclamations, but in steadfast, genuine, and unyielding service. The words penetrate more profoundly than any coronation vow. They not only affirmed the sacrifices Catherine had made, they demanded more from her and him. William's tears, initially a manifestation of sorrow for his father, now streamed from the immense burden of what awaited him. He was not only acquiring a crown, he was inheriting a delicate, invaluable heritage, the preservation of which, as confirmed by two kings, could only be ensured with Catherine at its core. The ascendancy of a princess. The unforeseen role of Catherine as the monarchy's stabilizing force. Catherine Middleton was never fated for royalty. She had neither a royal bloodline nor an ancestral heritage that would secure her place in British history. Upon entering the royal limelight as Prince William's undergraduate girlfriend, she exhibited a subdued modesty, a middle-class young woman from Berkshire propelled into one of the globe's most merciless venues. However, as the currents of time and turmoil have assailed the monarchy, it has been more evident to both palace insiders and the public that the royal family's most significant contemporary asset may reside not in its crowns or castles, but in her. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has emerged as the monarchy's most formidable and perhaps most undervalued asset, remaining steady, resilient, and apparently unaffected by the stresses that have overwhelmed others. Catherine has maintained unbroken poise and dignity, unlike previous family members who have stumbled under intense public scrutiny or been entangled in personal scandals that jeopardized the institution's legitimacy. She has skillfully navigated the delicate balance between the oppressive burden of centuries-old history and the urgent need for a monarchy that seems human, approachable, and relevant. She seems to have grasped a crucial reality that eluded many of her predecessors. The contemporary endurance of the monarchy is not linked to its magnificence, but to its capacity to foster genuine connection and loyalty. Through her refined demeanor, carefully selected language, and acts of service, she has subtly reinterpreted the essence of royalty in an era that no longer reveres titles alone. Catherine's relatability is a deliberate and well-crafted decision. Since the start of her public career, she has consistently rejected the allure of allowing the magnificence of her position to create a divide between herself and the constituents she represents. Regardless of attending an opulent state dinner or sitting on the floor of a children's hospice away from the spotlight, she embodies consistent kindness and empathy. She does not wear her title as a shield, rather she embraces it as a significant obligation to engage with the public authentically. Amidst a succession of crises affecting the royal household, from the turbulent departure of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to the scandals surrounding Prince Andrew, Catherine remained a composed and tranquil figure in the eye of the storm. Her composed attitude acted as a tacit admonition to the surrounding pandemonium. This unwavering core was deemed essential by both Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles, according to reports. Under Catherine's refined facade is a formidable tenacity and unwavering dedication that remains impervious to sensational headlines, internal treachery, and fluctuating public sentiment. She emerged as the family's emotional stabilizer at moments of heightened tempers, splintered alliances, and overwhelming public expectations. Nevertheless, she has endured this considerable strain without public display, without grievance, and with a grace so exceptional it has astonished even many who previously questioned her appropriateness for the position. Nonetheless, this extraordinary ascent has been accompanied by a significant and mostly unseen weight. While the world has grown to respect her, it has concurrently begun to expect even more from her. Catherine did not only enter a life of luxury, she entered a contemporary battleground where each blunder, ill-considered attire, and unguarded remark may serve as ammunition for a worldwide media apparatus, perhaps causing irreparable harm to the crown she is meant to save. She bears the burden of public adulation, while also enduring the unspoken, overwhelming expectations of a nation and a commonwealth yearning for a figure of stability in a tumultuous world. Her might has emerged as the monarchy's last and most promising hope for many. In the shadows of Windsor, between the murmured aspirations of a dying monarch and the recalled sagacity of a deceased queen, it has become evident that Catherine's most significant and challenging struggle is only starting. A connection established through obligation, the implicit partnership of Anne and Catherine. In an institution characterized by transient relationships and constantly scrutinized loyalties under worldwide observation, the bond between Princess Anne and Catherine, Princess of Wales, has subtly developed into something remarkable. Their connection is not founded on ostentatious displays or fervent proclamations, but rather on a profound, unarticulated comprehension, established not by lineage, but by a mutual and significant dedication to duty. Through generations and decades of evolving public expectations, these two ladies exemplify the essence of serving the crown. The monarchy's survival is perilously uncertain, but their discreet bond emerges as a significant and essential source of strength for the institution. Princess Anne has dedicated her life to rejecting the facile route, opting for unwavering, unadorned service, instead of the alluring diversions that sometimes captivate those born into royalty. She forged a trajectory based on diligence rather than notoriety. Her reputation is unblemished by controversy, and her public persona is free from frantic attempts for validation. There exists alone the constant, resolute progression of obligation, one commitment, one philanthropic visit, and one tranquil instance of service after another. It is a life that has required significant sacrifice without the anticipation of recognition, and Anne has embraced it cheerfully year after year, earning her the designation of the hardest-working royal. Royal watchers add that Anne seems to reflect a similar dedication in a new generation within Catherine. Anne comprehends more than anybody the oppressive unseen load that Catherine now endures, the intolerable demand for perfection, the prohibition against failure, the need to smile despite fatigue, and the obligation to silently endure several hardships. She has seen that strain obliterate others. She has seen how royal titles transformed into golden prisons and popular adulation deteriorated into public trial. However, Catherine, like Anne herself, opted for another course. She accepted the unseen work, the arduous commitment to a job that provides less personal gratification, because she, like Anne, believed in a purpose greater than herself. She has a strong conviction on the significant importance of service. Their connection transcends spoken communication. It is evident in the ephemeral moments captured by observant photographers, a mutual understanding gaze during a somber ceremony, a discreet approving nod from Anne to Catherine on the Buckingham Palace balcony, and the seamless manner in which they synchronize during collaborative activities. These subtle indications suggest a profound undercurrent of mutual regard, a silent partnership that conveys much more than any formal union could. Anne, formerly seen as the misapprehended and sometimes abrasive outlier of her age, has discovered an unexpected affinity with the lady derogatorily termed a commoner by the tabloids. Collectively, they symbolize a formidable link between the monarchy's austere history and an uncertain future. Consequently, it is not coincidental that Anne was designated to disclose Queen Elizabeth's clandestine aspirations and King Charles's ultimate desire. This was not only a task inherited, it was a torch transferred from one woman who has borne the burden of tradition without grievance to another who would now be required to do the same under much more severe and unyielding scrutiny. Anne's function as a messenger constituted a calculated and impactful declaration. The message was unequivocal. The survival of the monarchy will not depend on historical crowns or hereditary titles, but on the few individuals prepared to endure the unseen burdens of leadership without revealing them, the monarch's responsibility and a son's sorrow. Within the ornate confines of the palace, far from the adulating throngs and the incessant scrutiny of cameras that need a perpetual display of fortitude, King Charles III has been confronting a terror he cannot articulate. His concern was not for himself. He had long reconciled with the transience of existence. It was a deep and persistent anxiety over the institution he dedicated his life to leading and safeguarding. The monarchy, a long-standing and esteemed institution, had become more precariously positioned on a brink he could no longer overlook. In the secluded realms where authority and fragility intersect, the king has allegedly grappled with a challenging reality. The world is evolving more rapidly than tradition can accommodate. Unless an unusual event occurs, the crown, emblematic of a millennium of British history, may disintegrate. His health issues, once subtle murmurs inside palace confines, have transformed into a pronounced and public reality. Each medical appointment, every postponed commitment, and every phase of recovery conveys a consistent, poignant reality. Time is no longer his ally. What was formerly seen as a far-off need to prepare for the future has transformed into an urgent, even frantic endeavor. Charles comprehends, perhaps more than any of his forerunners, that royal lineage no longer ensures existence. Public loyalty, once a natural entitlement, must now be cultivated every day via sincerity, substantial service, and the exceptional quality of true human connection. He understands that for the monarchy to have any prospect of withstanding the challenges ahead, it must not tenaciously adhere to the past. It will include investing trust in those capable of leading with both compassion and unwavering determination. Consequently, at his time of utmost need, he unhesitatingly sought the counsel of his most trusted confidant, his sister, Princess Anne. He did not choose her due to her desire for power or influence. In fact, her disinterest in such matters is the same reason he trusts her unequivocally. He selected her because she, more than anybody else, comprehends the genuine, unembellished price of obligation. He confided in Anne his deepest concerns, his most vivid aspirations, and finally the desires he saw he could never possess the courage to articulate himself. Anne would be the one to disclose these realities. Anne would guarantee that his ultimate aspirations for the school would not be interred with him. For Prince William, the emotional burden of these events has been almost intolerable. Observing his father's decline has dismantled the reassuring belief in the availability of further time to prepare, time to acquire knowledge, time to rely on the man who devoted his life to preparing him for this unique position. As the reality of succession becomes more imminent and the monarchy's existence hangs in the balance between stability and turmoil, William feels the overwhelming weight of his destiny. However, although he grieves the gradual decline of his father's vitality, he is compelled to face an even more significant reality. This reality applies not just to kings and crowns, but also to Catherine, the one now officially and emotionally designated as the cornerstone of the monarchy's future, a position that will impose upon her a burden few could ever fathom: trial by fire. The princess's personal struggle and a nation's acceptance. As the world admired Catherine, Princess of Wales, for her beauty, poise, and seeming ease in royal life, few could have anticipated the internal struggle she was enduring. They saw a future queen, luminous, poised, and indomitable. However, underneath that refined exterior, Catherine was engaged in a struggle that no camera could document, a trial of resilience against the harsh, unseen forces that life might unexpectedly unleash. Amid King Charles's health crisis, Catherine emerged as a bastion of strength, providing support not just to her husband, but also to a royal family in dire need of stability. As the king's strength evidently diminished and William confronted the weight of his impending duties, Catherine remained the one constancy in a world that seemed to be destabilizing. She endured the unspoken anxieties, the restless nights, and the escalating strain with an unchanging serenity that seemed almost otherworldly. In a moment that dismantled all illusions of storybook royalty, she disclosed that she was grappling with a personal turmoil. Catherine's announcement of her cancer diagnosis to the public marked a moment that surpassed royal procedure. In a straightforward and very sincere video message recorded on a park bench in Windsor, she revealed her utmost vulnerability, not seeking pity, but rather authenticity. She illustrated to the world that genuine bravery is not the lack of fear, but the fortitude to remain resolute while bearing it in both hands. Her admission reverberated across the country, the Commonwealth, and the core of the institution she embodies. In that moment of unfiltered honesty, Catherine's prominence expanded significantly. She did not withdraw into obscurity. She remained steadfast. Despite the considerable burden of her personal illness, she articulated her message to assist others, concluding with a heartfelt expression of optimism for anyone confronting their own struggles. As the public became aware of the extent of her suffering, an unusual event occurred. The extensive adoration for Catherine evolved into a more intimate and profound sentiment. She was no longer only appreciated, she was cherished. Throughout the nation and beyond, an overwhelming number of supportive notes were received, totaling in the tens of thousands. Individuals unfamiliar with her had a profound personal affinity with her plight. They did not see a fallen princess, they saw a lady whose valor empowered them in their own struggles. Catherine's unwavering concentration stayed consistently on her responsibilities and her family. Her public utterances exhibit an elegance that is inexplicable. However, the world had yet to comprehend that Catherine's most significant challenge was imminent. Although she confronted her personal struggles with notable tenacity, the institutional pressure exerted by a vigilant king and an insightful queen was poised to be unveiled, solidifying her position not only as a cherished public figure, but also as the appointed custodian of the monarchy's destiny. A novel framework for the monarchy. The Catherine-centric sovereignty, Princess Anne's closing remarks in the Windsor drawing room, not only expressed a dying king's desire, but also revealed a new framework for the crown. King Charles, in his last strategic maneuver, had not just equipped William for the monarchy. He had formulated a concept that would radically transform the essence of contemporary monarchy. The approach focused not on conserving traditions in stasis, but on development survival, and fundamentally Catherine. Anne disclosed with a seriousness that eliminated any ambiguity that Charles's deepest desire was for Catherine to embody the vibrant essence of the monarchy. She was to serve as the conduit that might reconcile the archaic, even estranging customs of monarchy with the urgent need for a contemporary, empathetic approach. In her, Charles saw an essence unattainable by any title or ceremony. He had encountered an individual who intuitively grasped the essence of service, exemplifying the resilience, sensitivity, and understated strength required in a society becoming ever doubtful of traditional institutions. Where monarchs had governed by edict, Charles saw that the next epoch of monarchy would need a much deeper element: trust. In Catherine's every stride, carefully selected phrase, and uncomplaining sacrifice, he saw the monarchy's paramount and maybe only opportunity to regain that faith. This novel, with its Catherine-focused concept of the monarchy, exemplifies soft power. It emphasizes empathy rather than authority connection, instead of ritual and service above rank. It is a monarchy that prioritizes listening over lecturing, that assists the underprivileged not as a mere symbolic act, but as its fundamental purpose, and that derives its power from its proximity to the populace rather than its separation from them. As Anne revealed the whole of Charles's aspirations, the ambiance in the room, already laden with sorrow, purportedly started to change. For a brief instant, the overwhelming burden of grief yielded to an ephemeral but unmistakable feeling of purpose. The vision for Catherine's future included the notion that the monarchy could not only survive the next tumultuous years, but also thrive. Outside the palace walls, while the world remained unaware of the whole magnitude of the events transpiring, the public's increasing admiration for Catherine was rapidly evolving into an unstoppable force. She was no longer seen just as the spouse of a prospective monarch. She had subtly but undeniably become the emblem of a monarchy deserving preservation. William, his heart shattered by the gradual demise of his father, and the weight of his impending responsibilities reportedly made a secret poignant vow in that chamber. It was a commitment to uphold not only the title he would assume, but also the vision that Charles had meticulously and laboriously entrusted to him to support Catherine, to protect her, and to accompany her not merely as a spouse, but as a leader prepared to forge a future that their forebears could hardly have envisioned. Conclusion. A future, shaped by affection and responsibility. From the remnants of sorrow, a new resilience is emerging. From the tears wept in solitude, a future queen has arisen anointed not via ritual, but by the steadfast endurance shown under extraordinary duress. Catherine and William now stand at the threshold of a new age, not only as successors to a kingdom, but also as the appointed architects of a revitalized monarchy. In light of King Charles's ultimate desire and the enduring resonance of Queen Elizabeth's clandestine aspiration, they have allegedly committed to a discreet pledge not only to save the crown, but to revolutionize it. They conceive a monarchy anchored not just in lineage, but in service empathy and a steadfast human connection. Their revitalized dedication was not established in the magnificence of governmental ceremonies or the display of public acclaim. It sprang from intimate moments of grief and a collective realization that the preservation of their venerable organization relies on authenticity rather than entitlement. They are prepared to govern a monarchy that confronts its detractors not defensively, but with the assuredness derived from authentic, verifiable service. Catherine, bearing the unseen wounds of her own struggles, is anticipated to advance with heightened determination. Her commitment to early childhood development, mental health advocacy, and family welfare has gone beyond mere humanitarian pursuits. It now constitutes the fundamental essence of the monarchy's renewed identity. Alongside her, William discovers an unexpected power. Amidst the tumult of sorrow and transformation, Catherine's unwavering presence, her subtle sagacity, and her resilience will provide him the fortitude to confront the incessant demands of monarchy. The next journey will be arduous. There will be storms strong enough to unsettle the most resolute hearts. There will be moments of uncertainty, public scrutiny, and immense strain. Grounded in Catherine's resilience and William's understated strength, the monarchy will not exist as a mere relic of history, but as a dynamic testament to the supremacy of service over status and to a love story founded not on fantastical illusions, but on sacrifice, adversity, and a collective aspiration for a crown that serves its populace. The king's last request has been disclosed. However, the authentic narrative of the Windsor's destiny is only beginning. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.